Yo, what is going on today, fam? We are back. We're back working on the Civic. So I'm a goofball, I'm a silly goose. I accidentally deleted the intro to this video when I was editing, but no problem. I'll go ahead and fill you in. So we are getting started on the EG Civic, on the actual kswap portion of it now. We've addressed the suspension, came through, all new bushings, coilovers, arms, everything. The suspension is good to go. We've addressed brakes. We got an OEM big brake kit on the front, and we converted to a rear disc in the rear of the vehicle. And we addressed the interior. We got a Type R steering wheel. We have a new radio installed up in there with Bluetooth, all that good stuff. And we also have some nice Corbo seats in it with the yellow seat belt, so it looks pretty sick as well. But now we're about to go ahead and prep our drivetrain to be put into the Civic. So this is exciting stuff. So in this video, basically what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be going to refresh my K series. When I say refresh, I'm not taking out pistons, rods, none of that crazy stuff, no bearing work. We're just gonna go place the water pump, just replace all the accessories, new timing chain, new oil pump. We're gonna be, in this video, doing an oil pan baffle as well, high flow oil pump, and then I think it's gonna be a 2 or 3 part series. First video is kind of gonna be tearing it down, oil pump, oil pan. Second video, we're gonna be installing our valve springs, retainers in the head. Then I think the third video, don't quote me up on this, is gonna be actually installing the camshafts. Then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. So that is what this video is gonna be. It's gonna be part 1, and it's gonna be tearing everything down and going to refresh it. But hope you enjoyed the video. Make sure to leave a like, and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and fuck it, bro. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. But enjoy the video. So like I told you, I had already broke this bolt, but I wanted to rotate the engine, so I need to break it one more time. This little impact here. Super easy. It's important for me to really keep all my tools and stuff all the stuff I'm taking off organized, so gotta be real careful with this. That slid off super easy. If you look here, there's kind of like a little key lock there, so just want to pay attention to that. But yeah, everything is looking finito so far. So what I'm gonna do is put it on a time lapse and just start to take off all of this stuff. I got the valve cover off. So what I do have here is a tarp, and I'm just kind of like laying the pieces of the puzzle out here on the tarp. But this is my first time peeking underneath the valve cover, and I must say this actually looks pretty good. Everything is tight. Everything is how it's supposed to be. So I am extremely happy about that. It looks good. It looks good. Stoked about that. So next part is we're gonna go ahead and start to take off these accessories, rotor pump, stuff like that, so that way we can pull off our timing chain cover. We're basically gonna move everything that's in the way of this timing cover, and then we're gonna pull off this whole cover. Then we can turn our attention to the actual oil pan here. So let's get it. Now I'm getting started off just taking off some of the accessories on the motor. First taking off the idler pulley there, then taking off the tensioner. I didn't realize there was a bolt in the middle, so I had to take that off as well. Moving on here, taking off my thermostat housing, and just the actual, the hard lines and the hoses that go to that. And then moving on from there, I take off my whole water pump housing and put all the bolts back. The teardown is going pretty good. We take a look at the engine. Got the water pump housing assembly off, got the idler assembly off as well. I'm just kind of putting everything here. So just try to keep it organized in the best way. I'm taking a bunch of pictures along the way as well. Just trying to make sure I have enough room to do what I need to do and to get to what I need to access. So need to get to the back of here for the cams. That's no issue there. That's good. I've cleared out pretty much everything for the timing cover. So all I need to do now is go to remove the timing cover bolts. I believe these bolts have different lengths. So when you're taking this apart, just pay attention to that. try to keep them in order because that's the way they're gonna have to go back on there. But like what I like to do anyway is just put the bolts back in the hole that they came out of, especially if they're not interfering with anything. As you can see, like these went back. And just as I'm cleaning these areas and cleaning up the block, I'll definitely go to address it. But past that, ain't trying to lose no bolts. And so far, so good. Moving along, now I'm starting to take off the front timing cover. Just keep in mind there's several bolts, and the two bottom ones are a different length. Also, there's a certain place where you need to pry at, so just be careful with this soft. We are cruising right along, and I'm not moving at like a super quick pace whatsoever. So timing cover is off, obviously valve cover is off. All the accessories that would be in the way of the engine is out of the way. Next thing is to get the oil pan off of it. There's a bunch of 10 mil bolts that run along here. So I'm just gonna work on getting those bad boys out, and then we should be able to go ahead and pry up our actual oil pan. But it's going pretty smooth, I have to say. God, I don't like Honda Bond. I wish they were just gaskets, because geez, it's gonna be fun to clean up, because that's gonna be the next step once all this is done, like cleaning up all the Honda Bond off the surfaces. But I have something to assist with that. But let me go ahead, get back to pulling off this oil pan, and we'll keep it pushing. So, working on the oil pan, one thing to be careful of is not to go to scuff up the mating surface when you're trying to actually get the oil pan off. There's two places Honda made for you to be able to pry. One's like right here, there's a little divot where you can pry up. The other is on the other side. There's a divot right here where you can pry up. Those should be the only two places you're really prying at. That way you just don't go to scuff up the aluminum, because just remember, aluminum is definitely a soft metal and you can gouge it, and that can lead to leaks. Further down the line, next thing you know, you're trying to take off the oil pan to re-Honda bond it, still leaking, whatever. And yeah, we don't want the engines to leak, right? So before we get into changing our oil pump, first we need to get the timing chain off, so then we can go to access the oil pump chain. So what I did was I put a socket on the end of the crank bolt right there. Then I'm gonna go to rotate the engine counterclockwise. And when I do that, my tensioner here is gonna go in to compress. And then when that goes in, you just have to stick a paper clip or something similar inside. Kind of hard to get the view. Got this. All right, so if you look now, that's taking the tension just off of the chain itself. So now I can actually remove the tensioner, and then I can focus on going to remove these guides right here, and I can remove the upper timing chain guide as well. Then I'll be able to pull off this whole timing chain assembly off of the engine. So let's get it. So now I'm just working on getting off the tensioner, getting off all of my timing chain guides. I always put all the bolts back where they go. Just makes it easier to keep it organized. Just up top there, you gotta take off that top guide too. But yeah, we're good. So got the timing chain off, obviously got the oil chain tensioner off along with the guide as well. You still can't take it off yet. You actually have to loosen up the timing, so the oil pump first to be able to kind of tilt it in order to get this chain off. I have a new oil chain. This is the part number here if you're using a K20. Please remember that the K24s and K20s have different chain lengths, being the fact that the K20 is actually a bit taller. So yeah, just keep it in mind. Make sure you're doing your research when you buy your parts, but I'll have all these links in the description. We're changing out my stock oil pump for a new ported 4-pistons racing oil pump. So this is going to flow more oil on the high end, and also it's going to prevent oil cavitation at higher RPMs. This is tested up to 11,000 RPMs. I plan to be revving the 9K, so this is just a good insurance. So if you want to get one of these for your build as well, it's around, I think, $400 something, but I'll have a link in the description. So my next step, I'm gonna go ahead and just loosen up these 3 bolts right here for my oil pump, and I'll slip the old one, old chain out, and then we'll get the new one on and torque to the proper spec.
Moving on with taking off the oil pump. So there's a tensioner and there's a guide. Got that off there. Then you have to undo the 3 bolts, tip it forward, and then you can go ahead and put on your new oil pump. Just make sure that you tip the oil pump to get the chain on.
So time to go ahead and torque these 3 bolts. So the big bolts right here are 16 foot-pounds, while the smaller bolt here is 8 foot-pounds. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these tightened up, then we can go ahead and move on to putting on our tensioner and everything like that. So I have the new oil chain guide right here. This is part number 13460PNC004. And then for the tensioner, I have it right here, but it's also gonna be linked inside the description, by the way. But I'm gonna have all this stuff linked in the description. So if you need it, you know where to find it. But yeah, time to go ahead and get this stuff installed. All right, so we're here. Got the timing chain all torqued down. These were 8.9 foot-pounds. These were as well. Got those all torqued, so we are good to go there. I have my oil pump all torqued down as well. Everything rotates smooth as butter. I put some assembly lube just around this, just for the first startup. Next, I'm gonna turn my attention to cleaning up this mating surface right here, where I'm gonna have to put a new coat of Honda Bond in order to seal the oil pan to the bottom of the block again. So that is next on my list, to just get this cleaned up. From there, we need to put back on our windage tray, and then we need to go ahead and put on our Skunk 2 oil pan baffle, because that goes around this part right here, and then the pan sits down on it. So that is my plan. I'm gonna go ahead and knock this out, and I think that's gonna be my last thing I'm gonna be doing for the day. So we'll see how it goes. All right, y'all, so we have cleaned off our surface pretty well. Looks pretty good. I used a combination of things to do this. One of them being Scotch-Brite right here. Another being these bristle discs. They're not very abrasive, so they're able to go around the aluminum pretty well without causing any damage to it. The other thing I used was kind of like this little plastic a refinishing tool here. It got a sharp tip, but it's not super duper crazy. And then another thing I would recommend is just like a basic razor for just like the really hard to get stuff. But it's going pretty good so far. Next thing, I'm gonna go ahead and put the windage tray back on, torque down those bolts, and then we will be good to go ahead to get our oil pan baffle installed. Yo, what's going on, fam? So we're back, still working on the engine, getting things together, but wanted to highlight a change that I made, just because I'm about to go ahead and wrap up the bottom in there, and we'll be ready to put on the oil pan. But I researched, did a little bit of research, and I found this Blox oil pan baffle. This one is a little bit more sturdy. This one actually bolts to the bottom of the block, and I think this will serve my purpose just fine. And this one doesn't have any fitment issues. I've seen people online installing this, having to trim a little bit, stuff like that. I just didn't want to deal with it. Somebody had to remove one of the trap doors, a lot of other stuff. I just rather go with this proven thing right here. To get this installed, the first thing that you need to do is go to remove your windage tray here. So you're gonna take out the factory hardware there. Blox supplies its own hardware here. It also comes with instructions as well, but they have all the hardware you need right here that comes in with their kit. I paid $100 for this baffle, so I thought it was pretty affordable as well, so that swayed my decision too. But I cleaned off the mating surfaces of the block. I cleaned off the mating surfaces of the oil pan. So once I'm done with this, I can go ahead and put the oil pan back on. And then in the next video, we will be doing our valve springs, and our cam upgrade. But enough talking, let's get to the time lapse. I'm gonna go ahead and remove my windage tray. Actually, I'm not gonna time lapse that. Just take out these 6 bolts right here, 10 mils, and then we'll move on to the install. So don't be like me and take off the windage tray and then put the studs in, because you won't be able to fit the windage tray back on just because the oil pump will be in the way. So first you have to put the windage tray down, then you put the studs on with the Loctite. Now you can move on to the next step. By the way, if you want this Circuit Hero oil pan baffle for yourself, I will have it linked in the description along with everything else I've used so far, just because I want to help people out. So next is putting these spacers in. These are going to be to space up the baffle the appropriate length up off the windage tray so nothing contacts. So included in this also are these locking washers that you can use. This is just to help if you're putting it on upside down. You don't have to put these on. And I'm not sure if I want to, yeah, I guess I'll put them. I'm torn if I want to use them or not, because I don't need to use them. The directions say you don't need to, but I mean, I'm also like, what could it hurt? You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm gonna just put the locking washers on. If you were doing this while the engine was inside the car, it could be beneficial just to hold the spacers up for you. In my scenario, not really all that important, but even still, I'll go ahead and knock it out. So I'm gonna get all this set up, then we can actually put on the baffle. Of course, things can never just go smooth. No, that's not true. Sometimes they do, but issue. So the 4pistons oil pump has a bigger, I'm not sure what to call this part right here exactly, maybe snorkel. But if you look at the one that came off versus the one that the 4piston oil pump came with, a lot bigger. So the issue is that these nipples right here are making contact with the bottom of the oil pan. So the oil pan cannot sit flush, and that's a huge issue. Yeah, so it looks like I'm gonna have to take this from my old oil pump and install that. But now I'm like, damn, this bolt is being blocked right there. I hope I can finagle this out of the actual baffle. I was trying to figure it out, so I had bent a couple pieces of the baffle where I thought it was making contact. So a lot of stuff has happened, and now I'm sitting here like, freak, now I need to do this. So I'm gonna get to work. My goal is to really get this oil pan on tonight, and I got school in the morning, but god dang it, I'm so close. Success! The oil pan is finally sitting flush. I haven't bolted it down or anything yet. Matter of fact, I'm gonna take it off just so I can show y'all. So I was able to get everything back on. I swapped out the snorkel here. You can see just the height difference there. And it's a good thing that I caught this, because if this was bottomed out on the oil pan, it would have been sucked dry for oil, and I definitely would have just toasted this motor. So I'm glad I caught that. But you can see how with me pushing it down, I kind of dented it in. Ended up having to take all of the, had to take the oil pump off just to angle it to get the snorkel off and all this other stuff. Thank God I didn't have to take out the studs and everything. But man, got it back on. Y'all, I'm sorry if I'm slapping on the time lapses. It is a little bit late and I do gotta work tomorrow, but I was determined to get this done. So what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and hit this thing with a coat of, well, with a bead of Honda Bond. If y'all not already tracking, this is like the best silicone sealant you can get. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a bead here. This stuff, you don't have a lot of time. You only have 5 minutes until you can, to let the stuff sit just before it hardens, and then you gotta scrape it off and do it again. So gotta be pretty quick. I'm gonna double check once again that everything is torqued down. I'm gonna double check that my surfaces are clean, but everything should be good. Torque those down like 10, torque those down like 10, torque the bit, torque that, torque this, torqued all of my actual oil pump bolts themselves. I torqued all of the nuts that go on my baffle. So I think I'm in a good position. I'm looking good right now. I just want to make sure I got everything good before I put on my oil pan for good. But yeah, man, I almost got this done. I'm so happy about that. So yeah, let me get to work.
So now I just start doing my bead of Honda Bond around the bottom of the block. Then I spread it evenly with my fingers. Then we go ahead and put on our oil pan. I get all of the bolts started, but there's a certain sequence that you have to tighten in. I forget the final torque spec, but it's pretty light. All right, y'all, so it's been a long night. It is 10:36 now, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it here. So I hope that this video was cool for y'all. It's definitely been a learning experience for me, and you know, I don't try to hide my mistakes because it might help y'all from not making the same ones. But got the oil pan back on here. You know, Honda Bond is on. It does take time to cure, so no problem there, because it's gonna be months before this thing ever gets inside my car anyway. But the progress is coming along pretty well. Next video will be installing cams, valve springs, retainers, etc., all the supporting stuff, new timing chain, ATI super damper, and just getting this engine back on time and ready to go. Then after that, we'll be moving on to the transmission over there. Got some plans for that as well, which is exciting, but I will share that with y'all another time. But anyways, I hope y'all liked the video. If you did find it informative or just enjoyed being here with me, please make sure to like and if you're not subscribed, you know, like, consider it. Take it easy. I'm out.
Yeah.